And then our final reader is Jean Marc Ah-Sen. And Jean Marc Ah-Sen is the author of Grand Menteur in the Beggarly Style of Imitation and Kilworthy Tanner. His writing has appeared in Literary Hub, Hazlitt, Maclean's, and the Globe and Mail, and elsewhere. The National Post has hailed his work as an inventive escape from the conventional. Please welcome Jean Marc Ah-Sen.
Hello, everybody. Big pleasure to read to everybody. Hope everyone's doing okay. Just gonna try to adjust this a little. I'm gonna be reading from an anthology of erotica. I think my story was a little staid because the only note I got was like more sex, more sex. So I was thinking about Frank Costanza from Seinfeld and his stop short thing, and my partner's from Winnipeg, and I was talking to a lot of people from Winnipeg, and when you hear about like stories about sex in Winnipeg, it's just like a peroration of scandalousness. It's just insane. So I decided to write about a sex move. Hopefully it will do it justice. It's called Labefactions of a Thwarted Patootie. I am the labefactions of a thwarted patootie. I am her downfall, her untergang, her demise itself. I am inevitable putrefaction and entropy. I am also the ministrations of the dread penalty, and the recrudescence of venereal indiscretion, the abrogations of a noble spirit, and no relation, the calumnious defiling of sinless innocence, I also consider close friends. I am the patootie grinding her shapely hindquarters into the tenticulated bridgework of traveling salesmen, bathroom attendants, mail carriers, telegram boys, office managers, psychometrists, custodians, supply teachers, civil servants, dentists, hairstylists, servers, soda jerks, typing pool marauders, grocers, overlooked authors, and one circus performer, sword swallower, as she hand-spunked variously apportioned cocks to completion before inserting a fabled finger into their squalid, sweaty netherdoms. Sorry. They called this sexual service the Devil's Jump, while she went by the nom de guerre of Smut Matron. Her admirers brought her asafoetida, desiccated chicory, bulking agents, and glucomannan derived from the konjac plant, none of which she obliged. She retained an unfaltering sense of decorum about the service she provided, so much so that she never veered from its stable ingredients and proportions, that it might approximate the allure of a widely enjoyed cocktail, or an elite club that could claim some unifying social feature among its members, having all slept with some local celebrity, having all been chewed out by some local celebrity, having all been autodidactically enamored with the unpronounceable surname of some local celebrity. Said thwarted patootie, the engineer of many sexual miracles, eventually left such diversions behind her and settled down with a charmless Californian investment banker who knew nothing of his dearly beloved former's life. One day, while in queue at the butcher shop, a voice whispered into her ear, "Patootie, is that you I behold?" It need not matter what name this gentleman caller answered to, nor what circumstances had fortuitously arranged for him to meet his long-lost enamorata. The gentleman entreated Patootie to make off with him in his Arctic white Lincoln Continental, but nothing, not shelling out for the cost of her poundage of mesquite-tinged brisket, not the porcaloca-sized billfold he produced from his inside pocket, could shake her indefatigable powers of indifference. She took no notice of the gentleman driving alongside her and jabbering through the passenger window until he mentioned a corset-wearing factotum employed in his office who had performed the same devil-jumping courtesy for him one night in a granary of his farmstead estate. Without turning to face him, Patootie stopped in her tracks and asked, "What did your boy call it?" "He called it the none-such handbrake. The secret's out and you along with it, but I know better. Accept no substitutes. I'm sad to say that the last paying customers you entertained were too addle-brained to remember its mechanics properly. No one drinks the Martinez anymore, and soon the none-such will be all that remains." "Unacceptable," Patootie muttered under her breath. "What was that, Poppet?" "Drive us up to Mount Whitney, and I'll take you someplace humankind has seldom been." "That's over 100 miles from here," he said. Have ardor, will travel. Only my husband has experienced it. What will it cost me? You, Marcus Winstone, accounts manager at Taggart and Young, who engaged my services on 5 occasions, all at the Hotel del Coronado from 1972 to 1973. I knew you were something special. I say it again, ungrudgingly. What will it cost me? How about some executive visibility? Well, I do like the sound of that. I am the labefactions of a thwarted patootie, soon to become the sanctification of a transfigured patootie, who so placed her hands on the gentleman's treacly member as one would start a friction fire, maneuvering her palms like oily paddles of seed-spilling misadventure. Gentleman felt the unendurable pressure build, felt his head swim from the rapid change in air pressure, lying down on a scarped edge near the base of Mount Whitney. His bottom lip began to quiver, signaling to Patootie that the agony muck still flowed copiously through him despite his enfeebled appearance. With her thumb pressed down like it was fascinating a thumbtack through a stubborn piece of cork, Patootie pushed on the tip of Gentleman's cut cock and probably wrapped the surrounding folds of flesh over it. She held this makeshift foreskin together between her shapely index and middle fingers, the same way a stylist is accustomed to handle hair that is about to be sheared. The gentleman yowled from the pain, sullying his pleasure-seeking. It was only when Patootie released her fingers that Gentleman's rapturous mewling echoed down the Whitney portal and the Mount Whitney trailhead. The gentleman began to swoon and pressed his hands against his temples in an effort to control the massive, headache-induced megrim that was sure to follow. "What do you call that?" he said, as his jism dripped along the ridges of his scrotum like moraine from a glacier. "Egads, I can't even stand properly." I am the labefactions of a thwarted patootie. Little is known of the life of said patootie, save that she was responsible for the creation of the devil's jump and the vamp stamp you enjoy with shameless regularity, which you request at houses of ill repute, in temples of carnal worship, and in bedrooms with familiars all across the land, with the sang-froid of having your pants pressed. There was dignity to these youthful labors. As she lingers over the threshold of death, her body racked with pain, take heed to never speak of her gracious withdrawal from perfection, keeping a hint of former majesty withal. Thanks.